In class today, we looked at a short video that is in your Schoology live online learning for 9:15. You can watch that video. We also looked at a PowerPoint, which is in the live online learning. You should look through that PowerPoint as well. It talked about different types of shapes, geometric shapes and organic shapes. And then we talked about the sketch that we were going to do today and that I'll show you some examples of, where on our next meeting, we will be creating a collage, and the theme of our collage will be either to do a landscape, a cityscape, and that a beach scene, mountains, a desert scape. You could do an underwater scape, which could include something like a shipwreck. But what I needed students to do today was to think about how they will depict sky, whether it will be night or day, whether there will be an impact for weather, what the ground would be. Would you be choosing colors like greens and browns to represent earth or blues to represent water? Maybe you'd be representing grays using some pavement, and thinking about the content of what your landscape, seascape, cityscape will be, whether the focus will be plant life, animals, or buildings. Now, here's what was to be submitted for today. And I did 3 sketches. The first sketch was some basic ideas for a seascape. And I gave some like geometric shapes for coral, some organic shapes for seagrass, some geometric shapes for maybe some bubbles from our fish. Here I have a geometric shape for this sunken ship. Maybe I would do a treasure chest for geometric. And I did sort of a geometric and organic crab. But I wanted, and this is a sea anemone, I wanted them to gather ideas because they will then be cutting pieces of paper next class. And they need to have both geometric shapes and organic shapes. And the video and PowerPoint explain very carefully what those are. So this would be like a seascape. They could also do a landscape. So we're not doing people, but the landscape could include things like thinking about daytime, nighttime. So here we have some geometric shapes. This is a more organic shape, an organic sort of star, an organic cactus. So if this was going to be a desert scape, think about what you might find in a desert. Think about if it was going to be a landscape with mountains and trees, where we could have organic and geometric shapes to create a scene, a landscape, and it could be a jungle scape, so you get to pick. But I wanted them to start generating some simple shapes, and one way to do that would be to go on to like Google, do a Google search for, jungle scene clip art, or they could pick mountain scene or mountain clip art. So there's lots of ways to generate very sort of simple shapes, which is what we're going to need to be able to cut. So for a cityscape, they could actually look up a cityscape or look up clip art for cityscape. Cityscapes lend themselves very well to geometric shapes of, rectangles and different types of square and parallelogram forms, but they would definitely also need, we're going to be using both organic and geometric. So for a cityscape, they might have to do organic shapes in clouds or in tree forms, and I just quickly sketched those 3, but they would pick whatever idea that they choose, and they would need to do a sketch combining both geometric and organic shapes, and it was worth 5 points. They would photograph and submit that today in this assignment, And then for their application time, they were to start gathering different types of papers to use. And when I say that, and I gave examples in class, they could use magazine pages from any type of flyer. I had food wrappers. They'll be cutting shapes from the swatches of color. I had wrapping paper and tin foil. I had some blank, and so anything flat that we can cut. I had some just stock paper laying around in solids. And if they don't have those, you could actually take plain white paper and you could color and pattern them if you need to. But I think having a variety of things is probably your best bet. Having both some found things, like I went through my recycle bin and finding, if any papers that you have, if you had scrapbooking papers and things like that, that would certainly work and be great, but it's not necessary. There are so many things we can find around our house that have paper, that are made of paper or are thin and could be cut. Even scraps of fabric could be used. So you're going to need, for our next class, those things gathered together, and scissors and glue.